How long does it take to develop and design a game? Okay, so short projects are anywhere between 2 to 3 weeks. Longer projects can be 6 to 8 months in development. What genre of games do you feel are the hardest to develop? So we do a lot of simulations and role-play games and scenario-based learning. By far, the hardest type of games that we develop are the ones that are simulation-based and require a very high degree of transfer of learning. What we try to do with most of our games is to try to teach people how to do specific tasks or jobs through the playing of games. And one of the most important aspects of our development is this idea that the players should learn how to do their real job just by playing the game. What's your biggest pet peeve in the game industry right now? Biggest pet peeve. Okay, so I'm not going to talk about serious games here. In the commercial games, I don't like pay to win, or this idea of DLCs. It's just no. What would be your dream game to work on? So I'm a real-time strategy game player. I used to really enjoy Age of Empires and Command and Conquer and World of Warcraft. Oh, sorry, not World of Warcraft. Warcraft. And so I've always wanted to develop a real-time strategy game, and that's what I would like to do. Which one of your jobs contains the most tedious work and why? Oh, wow. So I'm a designer, and I'm a designer of serious games. So sometimes I'm developing things like, blood transfusion, or using an infusion pump, or examining a vehicle, or it can be anything, because we work with healthcare, we work with the police, we work with the fire brigade, or whatever. And I think one of the most tedious tasks that we have to do is we are constantly learning, and we have to do a lot of reading. And it's hard. Whose job out of all of you is considered the most stressful, and why? I guess if I had to guess, I'd say support is the hardest, because usually problems that come are urgent. Testing and debugging, this idea that systems break when people are trying to use them, that's kind of the most nerve-wracking thing when we have tight deadlines, and Murphy, lifts up his head and, puts his nose firmly into our business, and things start going wrong. Things start breaking. And testing and support, I think are the hardest, most stressful things that we do. Do you guys pitch your own games, or do you just work on what we are told? Okay, so we're a serious games company, so a lot of what we do is B2B, and that's we get client briefs and we develop what we have to do. But fortunately, we also have a small division which does board games and casual games, and that's where we get to do stuff that we really like to do. So I think it's a mixture of both. What do you value most about your jobs? Are you living your dream? I am. I'm like, if I was not getting paid to do this, I'd still try to make games. I think I love the aspect of learning new stuff all the time. I know it's one of the things that I kind of complain about, but it's also one of the things that I completely love. How often do games significantly change from original idea? If often, then why? Is there a reason why the base idea doesn't normally work out the whole way through? Quite frequently, games that we develop as an organization grow over time. Often when you start working on a design, it is quite simplistic. You have a rough idea, a kernel of an idea of what you want to do, but as you develop, that idea, as you start developing the game, you start seeing natural extensions. You start seeing things that you'd think would make the whole experience more immersive or more engaging for the player. And as a developer, as an artist, as a technologist, you just do it. You want to deliver the best product that you can. Do developers ever realize that the games they make are objectively bad? And if they do they try to make it better, or are they under too much pressure to complete the game and they swallow their fight? This is close to, it hurts. It hits very close to home. Yes, quite frequently we are not completely in agreement with our customers. Often they want changes in design, whether it's in terms of aesthetic or in terms of gameplay or just implementation. We don't quite agree with, but we are professionals. We get paid to deliver a product. At the end of the day, the customer's satisfaction is important. The customer may not necessarily be the end user. They are often project managers or procurement managers for organizations, and they have their own limitations or requirements. And sometimes we just have to deliver products that we don't think we would make on our own. But I don't think that we ever kind of purposely deliver something that we think is objectively bad. There may be differences in opinion, but we try not to do bad work. When you have a target age group confirmed, how do you mold a game that's most appealing to the age group? Okay, so one of the most important things that you can do as a game developer is to keep in touch with what's happening in the industry in general, not in just the games industry, but also the media industry. You need to know what the trends are, what people are watching, and what's the kind of prevalent fix of the time. Is it? And these things change frequently, right? And so you want to be in touch with that. And even in serious games, we frequently have to kind of resort to the kinds of things, the kinds of trends that we see in entertainment. We try to kind of to make sure that we have the same kind of spice, the right kind of seasoning in our own plots and storylines that people will find interesting. What is your opinion on crunch time in the industry? Are there ways you think it could be better, or it's just a natural output of the process? Crunch, there are two reasons why you crunch. You crunch because you are on a tight deadline, and there are things that you want should be in the game that haven't had a chance to be in the game yet, things that you think can make the game better, and you want to work to make that happen. And then there are crunches which are basically bad management, bad planning, and inadequate resources. The former is good and desirable, natural, and inspiring. The latter is bad. If your team wanted to recruit new people, what qualities do you value the most? The development skills, the game technology, or the understanding of game culture and concept? We would start with the understanding of game culture and concept. That is one of the most important things that you could do. No amount of technological wizardry will allow you to cut it if you don't have a natural inclination towards games. Okay, how do you see virtual reality changing the way you develop games in the future? VR is very interesting tech. I think that there is going to be a lot of space for VR in the future. I feel that it is eventually not going to be the be all or end all of all types of games. I think there is going to be a niche for VR games. It's definitely going to be something that is going to be having an impact, but I don't think that all games necessarily have to be VR in nature. Okay. I'm going to answer the design questions. What is the hardest part of developing a concept for a game? Is the base idea, or is it more specific details and layouts of the game, and why? One of the most complex, because we are doing serious games, one of the most complex tasks that we have when we're trying to design is how does what's happening in the game translate into what's happening in the real world? And why are the skills that you're picking up during playing the game the same kinds of skills, whether it's thinking skills or actual kind of observational skills or whatever it is, pattern recognition, the same skills that you actually need in your job. So that's the hardest part of developing actual concept for the game. It is the basic idea, the core concept that's challenging. Once you get the core concept, building around it, building on it, and developing it gets to be somewhat of an easier task. When thinking about the concept of a new game, how cautious do you have to be about what games already exist to avoid running into copyright and legal issues? Copyright and legal issues are not issues that just simply stem from the fact that your game is similar to somebody else's game. Copyright is something that has to be easily provable or identifiable. If I try to make a Superman game, of course I'm going to be in violation of copyright. But if I'm wanting to make a game about a generic flying person who doesn't necessarily wear their underwear outside their clothes, that's not Superman, and there's no copyright issue there. So often people would get into copyright trouble because they are familiar culturally with something and they're trying to emulate it. And not just emulate it in a way that they are getting inspired from it, but they're actually substantially copying original work of people. So so the short answer is I don't think that you have to consciously avoid copyright if you are doing something original. You only have to consciously avoid copyright when you're trying to copy something. Okay. Are you more tempted to make a game easier so that more people feel accomplished and enjoy the game more, or do you aim to make it more challenging to make the player really work for its completion? Depends on what kind of game we're making. When you're talking about serious games, very often we talk about this idea that the games should be hard enough for people to fail meaningfully, because failure is one of the best ways in which people learn. That being said, if you're trying to make a game, the game should be challenging, not necessarily insanely hard. People enjoy the experience of trying to solve puzzles they think that they can solve. So if the game feels impossibly hard, you're definitely going to turn off players. So my name is Siddharth Jain. I'm the creative director of Playware Studios, and I'm a game designer. Thank you.